Sean, I feel your frustration, your disappointment. What we have witnessed is a travesty. There's no sugarcoating this. But it's also an opportunity for the president to stand up and lead from here. Because Ryan has shown he is not the leader. He is as ineffective as you have described him, as disappointing. He has failed in his imagination. He's failed as the steward and the shepherd in the House of Representatives for many of the reasons that you cite, plus a host of others. This is a man who is Speaker, who has done nothing in 2 years, almost 2 years. He hasn't even been Speaker for 2 years. This is a man who's only passed 3 pieces of legislation in his entire career. We're talking about 18 years in Congress. He is emblematic of many of the failings of our Congress and our Senate, frankly. But this president has established a new norm. Stepping into the White House, he's working 24/7. He is.
Lou, I don't want to interrupt, but you're sparking more frustration. You look at the check.
Thank you for that.
You look at the checklist. He's kept promise after promise after promise after promise. He's building the wall. He's extreme vetting. He's fighting in the courts. He's getting rid of burdensome regulation. He wants to move forward with a bill that's going to create jobs. He's negotiating with companies. He's keeping companies here in America. He's remembering the forgotten men and women. They've had 8 years, Lou. 8 years.
And I listened to Congressman Mark Meadows, the chair of the
I feel bad for him.
I listened to Jim Jordan. I listened to Senator Rand Paul. These are men who are working their tails off right now, actually in the president's behalf, trying to get to, as Mark Meadows says, to yes. But to finish the point, the Congress is working 1 week out of a month. Are you kidding me? This president is setting a new level of
18-hour days. I don't know what that's life is
like. What do most people watching this do?
Yeah.
I mean, who do these arrogant incompetents think they are? This leadership of this House for the Republican Party is setting a horrible example. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. I think it's time for him to get out of the way. And secondly, I think it's time for President Trump to acknowledge he's got to take on another burden. And he's got to lead the legislative agenda.
Well, that's my point. It's not his job.
It's
Lou.
not his job, but it is his country, and he's the only one who can save this country.
Am I wrong in saying that all these guys that didn't support the president during the election, I remember talking to the speaker, and I remember that the then candidate Trump was going with 3 weeks before the election to the state of Wisconsin, and Paul Ryan wasn't going to meet the nominee of his party.
He had finally agreed to campaign with him and canceled it. And in October, this is a man who has been anti-Trump, never Trump. And by the way, I don't know his motivation, and I don't care. But I'll tell you this, he has not supported the president of the United States, and that is appalling.
You agree with me, the president has not been served well. Is it wrong for me to expect that you don't hide the bill from your caucus, from your conference? They didn't show anybody, and there were all rumors flying around. Everybody was saying, then it gets released, and this group doesn't like it, that group doesn't like it. Aren't you supposed to, as a speaker, build consensus?
Absolutely, but you're also, as president, the only one of these people, everyone talks about they were elected to do this or that. This president was the only one elected by all of the people, and his vice president.
Can we say that, in other words, I talked to the vice president tonight, and I hope he doesn't mind me revealing this. And he believes, this is what he said. He said what the president, what Secretary Price wrote as a sidebar for stage 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is written in gold. That was the request of the Freedom Caucus. The vice president is standing by that promise, and he said
that's
1,000%.
That's terrific, except for one thing.
What?
The issue that has been before the president, the speaker, and the House Freedom Caucus.
Can they get this done?
Is the 2 and 3, is it likely to happen? And they want 1.5 elements to move into the first phase. This business of phases was a tragic and stupid mistake on the part of the speaker and his leadership team.
Okay.
And here's what I think.
But here's the problem. It's going to either die tomorrow or it's going to be fixed tomorrow.
I want to speak to that. Because the President of the United States may feel that way tonight, and I wouldn't blame him one damn bit. He has to be awfully disappointed in many of his advisors, his team as well. He's got to be awfully disappointed in Speaker Ryan. But the choice in
I
this
think the words,
instance is
Lou,
not
are
his.
pissed off. He has a right to be pissed off.
That's a fair characterization. And I speak Irish too. The fact is, this president doesn't have a choice. We're looking at $3 trillion in market cap that has moved because the people who elected President Trump have faith in him, his judgment, his leadership, his values, which are all American. And Americans and leaders never quit. I don't know what he's saying tonight, but tomorrow, those markets are not going to like to hear that the President of the United States said, I'm picking up my football and going home. That isn't Donald Trump. That is a disappointed and I'm sure angry as hell Donald Trump. But tomorrow, the leader that he is will emerge from the White House.
I don't doubt that either. All right, Lou, always good to see you.
Great.
Here's the bottom line. President Trump was not served well by his party in the House of Representatives, and he has been put in the position now to do their job and do all the heavy lifting on this bill. And it's no wonder that according to Real Clear Politics and their average, congressional approval is at an embarrassingly low 20.8%. So tonight, here we are. We find ourselves at a crossroad, at a stalemate. But we have a problem. In the legislative branch, it's a very, very different story. Now, the reason that we are here tonight in this position without a vote to repeal and replace Obamacare is because this legislative process has been beyond contentious, unorganized, and disjointed. You've seen the infighting, you've seen the miscommunication, you've seen the squabbles on TV, right here on Fox, on radio, all because the legislative branch did not do their job properly. Now, for 7 long years, the GOP ran on repealing and replacing Obamacare. They said, give us the House. They got that in 2010. They said, give us the House and the Senate. They got that in 2014. Then they said, give us the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And on November 8th, they got that wish. And frankly, in spite of many Republicans not even supporting the nominee of their party, which to me was nothing short of disgraceful. Now, in a perfect world, the work on repealing and replacing Obamacare, well, that would have begun on November 9th, but that didn't happen. And in a perfect world, the GOP would have built consensus among the different factions within the GOP, meaning the moderates, the conservatives, the Freedom Caucus, the study group, before ever unveiling the bill. That, too, never happened. Now, this bill was quickly labeled Ryan Care, Obamacare Light. President Trump, he didn't write this legislation, which, by the way, is not his job. So instead of ranting and raving, I'm thinking, all right, how do we solve this problem and fix this mess by tomorrow? Because my sources are telling me that the president, if he doesn't get this bill tomorrow, it's over for this session of Congress. My advice tonight for the legislative branch is to do what you should have done from the beginning. That is, bring a coalition of your party, all the different factions, bring them into a room, take away everybody's phones, lock the doors, order pizza, get some beer, whatever you need to survive for however long it takes. The meeting should include moderates, the GOP study group, the Freedom Caucus, members of the U.S. Senate, because we have to deal with the reconciliation and procedural issues. The White House should be represented, including the Vice President, the Health and Human Services Secretary. In other words, it's time to start working with a sense of urgency that most in America work with every day. It's time to fix this mess that you have made for the president. And it's time for you to give the American people a bill that you have now promised them for almost 8 years. Now, I would argue tonight, failure is not an option for the President of the United States and his first major piece of legislation. Now, if you don't succeed, you will have nobody to blame but yourselves. But at this hour, there's still time. There's hope for success. Now, Secretary Price, Vice President Mike Pence have both assured me that the president's letter to the Freedom Caucus is 100% locked in cement, and that those changes will be made in phases 2 and 3, which, by the way, we didn't find out about that till after the bill was released. And if not, by the way, I have it on very good authority, this health care bill will die in Congress tomorrow and will not be brought up this session. I was told by very high sources in government. Now, I'm arguing tonight that should not and cannot happen. And here's my message to you people in Congress. For the love of God, after 8 years, can you please do your job? Can you please find a way to work together? Can you please find a way to serve your country, not yourselves, not your reelection? It's time to serve your president and the people you represent. It's time for you to fix this and show the American people that they did the right thing by giving you the power and the authority to lead, because you don't look like you're leading right now. Joining us now with reaction, Fox News business anchor, our friend Lou Dobbs. Reaction. Now tonight also, James Rosen is reporting that sources are now telling Fox News there is potentially, quote, a smoking gun that proves the Obama administration spied on the Trump team.